Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is Friday, March 6th, 2020, and this is our weekly video. We're going to take a look and see how things went on eBay last week, see what was going on over at Katawiki, and also on the global auction pages. There's been a lot sort of happening lately, as you all know, and we continue to do a lot of things anyway during the week beyond our regular business. At any rate, one of the things I wanted to mention was on Wednesday, we posted this video, and it's a fairly long one. It's about 55, 60 minutes long, and it's about foot rims on Ming and Qing porcelains, how to look at them, what you should see, what you shouldn't see. We examine at the beginning of it, the front end of it, a lot of fakes and copies and so forth. And it took a few weeks in our time while doing other things to gather up the images and so forth. And I think you'll find it pretty useful as a handy guide, I think. And you may want to come back and watch it a couple of times to pick up on things you missed out, you might have missed. The other thing we did this past week was we added to the site, if you come over here, a couple of things. One of them is on Christie's. Somebody asked about this, about record prices of things. And what we did was we added to the Christie's menu here a list of record prices in Chinese art. And it's pretty interesting. It takes a few seconds to load because it's got to gather up the data over on the Christie side, but it starts at their top item and works the way down. There's about 700 things on there, and it's pretty interesting what the top items are. The other thing that we added this week to the site was last week we added some links to the National Palace Museum in Taiwan. And this week, we found that they have online a visual tour that you can take, an online tour. It's right there. And if you click it, it'll bring you over to, let's see here. Hold on. Got to pull it up here. Hold on. Click the virtual tour. This only takes a second. And it's worth going in and seeing this. All right. And what you do is on the upper right-hand side on the menu, outside of the screenshot here on the right side, there's a set of bars. You just click them, and it pulls out virtual tour guide menu. And you click it, and you can go inside the museum. And if you come to an object that's got a little green box over it, you click it, it'll pull up a full voice narration. It is really cool, describing the piece, its importance, and so forth, and a large image of the piece itself. And you go through the galleries, and it might end up putting you on a plane to want to go over there and see this museum. It's quite something. And the other thing that we added was on the Palace Museum, not the National Palace Museum, but the Palace Museum in Beijing, we found that a way to add links to their collections. All right, so the Chinese porcelain collection, painting collection, textile, scholars' objects, mixed metals, glass, you name it. We found a lot of it, and it is over here. This is what the page looks like. And you go down the left side here, and are all the images, and they're just pages and pages of things. And it's worth taking the time to have a look. I'll tell you, it's great. The other thing that we found was that on here also is the Ming and Qing Palace events, is the timeline of the emperors. And this is maybe the best index I've seen going through different periods, because what it does is it takes let's go down here and say you want to see something to do with the Kangxi period, and you click on that, and it'll load the page. Takes a second. All right, and here it is, and this is his life in a timeline. Year by year, second month, third month, 10 month, there's a lot on here. And you can go through and read what the emperor was up to. It's very fascinating, really is. It's great stuff. So check those out. And I think that's it for additions to the site this week. I may have forgotten something, I'm not sure. But there's been a number of things done here. We added that, and yeah, I think that's about it. At any rate, check it out. It's worth looking at. Here's a picture of the page results for Christie's record prices of Chinese art, and it starts up here with the Shuxi wooden rock painting, and then on to the famous Tonka that sold for almost $50 million a few years ago, and on and on and on, and then a picture of there's a very rare yuan jar, brought 15 million pounds a few years ago. And this fish jar, interestingly, is something you see in auctions that sell fakes all the time. And this is why. This one ended up selling for, well, divide that by 20-30 million dollars. So just say it that way, all right? 25 million. And so there's a lot of interest in that, and it goes down. So that's what was happening there. Okay. And there's the virtual tour once more. And over here was last week's newsletter. These are the things, as you know, that we find, that we pick out and select and put on the newsletter page each week. And there's been a number of things that did very well this week. There was also this Japanese Husai print that brought $21,000. And we're going to go over and look at that. And I'm going to tell you an interesting trick to identifying prints that you can pick up on. If you see a print you like and you have a picture of it, I'll show you how you can find out who did it. All righty, and now over here is this lot hasn't quite closed yet. These are on eBay, and we saw this pair went up last week for almost the seller sells with very low opening bids, and we thought it would do pretty well, and it's doing great. These are unusually nice 1780s Chinese export square vases, beautifully done, nice detail on them, big handles. They both look to be in very nice condition, not a lot of wear anywhere, which is unusual for these. Often these have a lot of wear on them. These are up to $10,001, and they're closing in 8 hours. And I'm recording this on Friday, so we'll check back next week to see how these did finally. But I think they're going to do probably another couple of thousand. At any rate, those are nice. And then over here was that dandy little wooden carving that I mentioned last week. I just loved this thing. I love the patina on it. Love the way the figures are done, the trees, the pine trees. It's all done like a landscape with a fellow working in his garden, and there's an elder visiting him with a child carrying a fan and attendant. Just a wonderful thing. And it was inscribed. And it ended up selling for $696, which I think was a very fair price for that. That is a nice object, and I just love wood carving, so that was a good one. I like that. And then on to this, the Opium Lamp. This was a nice late 19th century opium lamp. It's got its original chimney on it. And for those of you that don't know what these were really used for, they weren't really used for lighting. Opium lamps were generally used, they had these shaped mouths on them. Let's see if we can get down here. We'll give you a quick lesson on opium lamps. All right, let's see if this does it. Here it is. This is the top. It's upside down. You notice how small it is. And what they would do is they would take the opium and put it in the pipe, a little bit of it, they called them pills, these little tiny bits of opium, put it in the pipe, light the lamp and hold the pipe over it, and the heat from the lamp would be funneled up and concentrated on the bottom of the bowl, and the person could smoke his opium. And it was used to heat the pipe more than to provide light for the room that the user was sitting in. And this was a nice old one, had a good reticulated body. There were a number of companies making these. The later ones tended to use cheap molded glass. This looks like a nice older one. Any rate, it did pretty well. It brought $250. If they're very, very elaborate and they have champleve or very fine cloisonné in them, they can bring in the thousands. But that was still a nice one. There are whole gangs of people out there that collect opium lamps, and that was a good one. All righty, and then on to this, the silver bowl. This was a nice bowl, and the way it was photographed was a little bit difficult because you don't realize it's fully reticulated. You can see it here on the enlargement, but in the general photo that they provided, it's hard to see. It's got a Wang Hing mark on it, and there's a picture of the inside against black, and you can see how beautifully this thing was carved out. It's a nice piece of Chinese silver, and it ended up selling for $400.58. Which is perfectly fine, all right? But if you're a Chinese silver collector, I hope you got it, because that was sort of a nice one. I like the dragons chasing the pearl on that a lot. And then over to this, the Celadon ground rose Mandarin vase. What was good about this vase was that you notice the gilding. Always look to the gilding right away when there's a lot of gilding on a piece, because it'll give you an idea how much wear the thing is probably going to have upon closer inspection. And this one, the gilding looked to be in quite excellent condition all the way around. And don't just check the high-pointed pieces for the gilding. Check the frame decoration and so forth, because sometimes they re-gilded these. All right. Sometimes restorers regild them, but check all the gilding. Check it all the way around. See if it looks nice and complete, and that's what you want to see. Here's a picture of the bottom of it. That typical 19th century foot rim. And we're gonna cover Qing foot rims in the next video, so we can go into that a bit more. But anyway, this did pretty well. It brought $863, and as I said, it was about 14 inches tall, which is about the right price for that these days. 800 to 1100. When they get just a few inches bigger, if this vase was just 16 or 17 inches, the price jumps, and suddenly it becomes a $1,200 to $1,400 vase. It's interesting. All right, and then on to this. This was that late Qing sort of republic-looking vase that had been lamped out. We came across this. The seller didn't seem to really know too much about it, which is not unusual. It looks like it might have come out of an estate or something. Here's a good detail shot of it. You can see up in here. Always look for little light reflections because it'll give you a sense of the texture of the glaze. You can see the surface because it'll do this, have this reflecting effect. But the decoration down here is nicely done. It's very softly done, and so forth. Here it is in its full lampdom. All right, and the lamp parts look to be, 60, 70 years old or so. And in the end, this did quite well. It brought $2,025. I hope whoever bought it uses this as a lamp. That's an elegant thing. All right, and now over to this, the big, they called it non, you're straight. It sort of is. It's in that manner. I don't think it's quite there, but a cobalt ground Mandarin vase. But this was a big one, 24 inches. It was a whopper. And I like these dark blue grounds. I like these blue enamel grounds and then the white areas and all this. And the decorative quality of this was quite good. If you pull it in, you can always pull in the details and look carefully at the faces, how they're done. Now, all the facial expressions are a little different. The robes are well detailed. The background, these honeycomb patterns on the screens are nicely done. The gilding is in good shape. You can still see it here and there in the hair of the figures. And in the end, this did pretty well, $1,834. All right, and I think that was a nice buy. I think that was a very attractive vase, and it was big. Size makes such a big difference on these. And then over here to this, the Kangxi sort of jadao formed thing with the gilding and pink enamels, red enamels on it. Here's a picture of the bottom. Nice old pot, all right, and it ended up doing okay. It brought $2,116, and as far as I know, it was in good shape. And how big was this? It was probably about 14 or so inches tall, 16 and a half inches tall. There you go. And it brought $2,100. I think that was a very nice buy for a nice old porcelain. All right, now on to this was the export plate with the woman traveling with the child and another lady they encountered with the basket. Classic, very, very classical export porcelain, but nicely done. Here's a picture of the foot rim on it. Good looking 18th century porcelain, and I think it's older than the seller thought. The seller had it down as 1830. I think it's a good bit older than that. And it ended up selling for $292. Nice example. And then over here to this little scroll painting. I like scroll paintings a lot. I like Chinese paintings in general. And this is a charming one. It's a 19th century example or so, or maybe probably earlier, in the early part of the century. It looks like it might have been put down on a new back at some point, but that's not unusual. And they put a ruler in there and all that business. But this was good. I like it. The kids are cute. They're outside with their mom having some fun. And it ended up bringing $504, okay? And as I've said before, when you get scrolls, you can't really just leave them hanging all the time because it's not great for the scroll. It wears it out. But these scrolls can be mounted professionally by a good framer. They can tab it in, put it behind UV filtered glass, and you can hang them for a very long time without any problem. But you want to get them out of the air. You want it to be in a nice sealed up frame. That way the air doesn't get at it, and make sure you never put it anywhere where sunlight even grazes it on a regular basis or it will fade. Okay, now on to this, the bronze, the Ming bronze statue. I like this. This was a nice statue. Here's a full picture of it and holding up a vase and so forth. And it ended up bringing $1,232 or 950 pounds. But it was a good one, and I think that was a very fair price. It might have even been a bit on the low side, but that's okay. Somebody got a great buy. All right, like I said, leave bids. You know, don't leave things to coming back later. You won't remember. People just don't remember. All right, and this was something we came across. Nice little Quandron brush pot. And these don't look like much. They're very simple. They were made in the latter part of the 19th century. Here's a picture of the bottom of it. It's got some script on it. There's a little mountainside. And these are very simple. But there's a big market for these examples. We've seen before other Quandron pieces. They bring a lot. And this one did very well. It brought $1,316. And like I was saying, it wasn't that I said before, you know, a few years ago, these porcelains were not collected hardly at all. And you could buy them in antique shops, I know, around New England for, you know, $20 or $30. Nobody really wanted them. Suddenly, they're popular. All right, and then over here to this, the two screens. We're going to do, there's two of these. I think these were the same two that were in Rob Michael's sale in the Netherlands, in Belgium a couple of weeks ago. Or if not, boy, they look very similar. At any rate, here's one of them, and it was a beautiful example, possibly for the Straits community because it's very elaborate, very pretty, very energetic. And it ended up bringing $2,617. All right, it was a good price. And then this one was up, and this one was maybe a little bit different, but not much, virtually identical. And it also did very well. It brought $2,370. So there you go. But those were nice. I like those. I like those screens. And they were nice size, too, as I recall. They were, what was the height on them? 36 inches tall. So they'd make a room. Boy, you have a pair of those. And then on to this. This was a great little buy for the week. 18th century brown dress rim bowl, about 8 inches in diameter, in very nice condition. It had a tiny, tiny, tiny rim frit somewhere on an edge, as I recall, up in here. I don't even see it, but it wasn't anything to worry about. And this went for $102. And that was a nicely done example, and it was a bowl, and it was good size, and somebody got a fabulous buy on that. I think that was an excellent buy. And then hopping over here to this was the who-formed deer antler vase. This is a very late Qing, maybe early Republic period example, but well decorated, nicely done. It had been a table lamp once in its life. There's the hole, and this is the base on it. What the foot rims will these will look like. Here's a side shot of it, but the enameling looked quite good. It's got the late Qing blackbirds in it, as I call them, and it sold for $787. So even with the hole in the bottom, it did pretty well. Without the hole, it probably would have doubled that or another 70% more, but that's the way it goes. And then on to this nifty little cup. And this is I've got the translation for that mark on the bottom. It's a Kangxi piece, and it's Qi Yu Bao Ding Ji Zhen. And this bowl with these markings are heavily collected. I did some extra looking on it, and a 7 or 8 inch bowl like this brings thousands. And this one did pretty well. It brought $433, and this was just like a wine cup, very small, 18th century. Nice example, and with a rare mark. Okay. And then hopping over to here. This was one of the interesting stories of the week. It was on the newsletter. We came across it after we published it, so we went back and I think we added it later, a day later. But this is a really good and very rare print. It ended up selling for about $21,000, and it's by Hasui Kasai, and it was done about 1919. All right, and put this thing down here. I'm going to talk a little bit about if you come across block prints or things that are visually, easy to identify from their outlining. I don't know if many of you out there know about a site called Yandex. Yandex is a Russian search engine. But if you have an image like that, okay, and what I did was I saw it and I wanted to find some comps, and I found a comp for it in the Museum of Fine Art in Boston. There it is, okay. Because he's a highly desirable Meiji to early 20th century printmaker. But on this site, if you want to try it, it's called Yandex. And on here, you click the image tab up here, all right? And you come over here and click the little camera. This is a fun thing to do. You can play around. It works with vases, too, sometimes. And what you do is you click this, and select a file, be patient, and it'll pull up you can pull up an image with this. And we're going to go down here. This is just one of our folders where we keep a lot of junk. And there's the picture. You pull this up here. Now watch what happens. This program, and there's I think Bing has a similar one. I don't think it's as good. I think Yandex is the best one. And what it does is it looks at the picture and then finds you other examples that look like this picture. All right, and here they are up here. Okay, and you can click on them. This was one that sold very similar to this one. Sold at Skinner's about 6 years ago, as I recall, looking at it, and it sold for $8,000 or $10,000 for that print. This one, this time around, it brought $21,100. Okay, so if you want to do you've come up with a Japanese woodblock print or something that's pretty scannable looking, you can try using Yandex to locate it. And here's the example we found again in the MFA, and that one was apparently an original, and so it goes. And now on to this. There was another print by him as well from that same seller. I don't want to forget it. And I think it brought $6,000 or $7,000 by the same artist. Okay. So there we go. Now on to this. This was, I think, a very nice buy for the week. This was a good 17th, early 18th century incense burner, somewhere in there. And it ended up selling for $881, which I think was a very fair price. This looked like a nice old burner. Wasn't a big one, 4 or 5 inches in diameter, but this is one of those small personal incense burners. There's a lot of gunk left over from being polished over the years. You can remove it, when you get these, or not. They don't. It doesn't bother me. And here's a side shot of it. You can see the part of the casting line down through the body and so forth. It's kind of nice. And that was a very good buy. Whoever got that, whoever collects bronzes, got themselves a nice buy on that, like that. And then over here, one thing. A lot of you use it, and some of you may not know about it. But if you go to the home page on over here, under Asian art on eBay on the homepage, and you click that, the eBay Today page. And the reason I'm mentioning is that a lot more people are using this on a regular basis because we update it every morning, usually before 9 o'clock. And a lot of the things you see on here will also be on the newsletter page, and a lot of things on the newsletter page will not be on here. But we do update this page each day just with things that we come across and delete the things that have sold. And there's quite a bit of content on there if you're looking for stuff that we've picked out, as well as some Catawiki listings. All right, so if you want to see more things that we find during the week, check that out. All righty. Now let's take a look and see what's coming up. One of the things on the global pages, there are a number of good auctions that have turned up. As you can see, this is just some of the stuff that came in this week. On there, a lot of 18th century material, piles of it. It goes way down this. We'll roll it down and show you how far down this goes. It goes all the way down. And there's more of it here, some very rare teapots and so forth, some great things. But one of the things I wanted to focus on that's on there right now, there's some very nice Wanli pieces. One of them is this great big bowl. This is a 15-plus inch bowl, looks to be in good shape. If you've checked it out, it's over on the invaluable side. You want to take a look at that, give it a whirl. The next thing up is this, a rather large Wanli charger. It's about 16 inches in diameter. Good color, 16 inches though. Keep that in mind. It's a big one. And it's got a fairly reasonable estimate, 1,000, 1,500 euros, something like that. There it is. And then over here is a monster. This is a huge charger. This thing is 20 inches in diameter. 20-inch Wanli chargers do not turn up very often. All right, and this is a nice one. It's got a good deep cobalt blue on it. And if you're a Wanli buyer, boy, this is one to think about. I love the Fu Lion in the middle, but the decoration, the quality of the decoration is excellent. The tonality of the blues, the outlining, the drawing, the little details, the little different border patterns that have been added. A really nice piece, estimated at 5,000 to 8,000 euros. Doesn't seem crazy to me, but heck of a big piece. That's a monster. For every 50 10-inch Wanli bowls you find, or 100, you might find one this big and in this condition if you're lucky. All right, and then also on the global thing is this. There's a very nice late 17th century Japanese Imari jar with its lid. It's a good example. So check that out. And then over on the live auctioneers side, we found these beautiful pair of Wu Tsai, or almost like Dao Tsai. The enamels are very soft on these, but these are a beautiful pair of 18th century plates. So you want to check that out. And then this jar, late Ming, very classic form. And it's interesting because this particular form of jar typically has vines and squirrels and things on it. This one has these beautiful lotus blossoms. I think it's a very nice piece. And if you're looking for nice late Ming pieces, that's a good example. And then over on Katawiki, you have this. This is a very good Wanli bowl also. Good dark blue coloring. It's got the scrolls wrapped in vines and these nice roundel cartouches with different types of fruit and objects in them. Good looking example. This closes tomorrow on Saturday. It's up to $80. Ought to bring a bit more than that. That looks like a pretty favorable entry point. So like I said, and there's no reserve on this. There's an unreserved thing. On the Katawiki pages, we've been trying to work more and more and more where we can find out where they are, the unreserved things, because I know all of you are sick of fighting reserves, and maybe they'll take the hint over there. All right, and then this popped up this week. If you like interesting little bronzes, this is one of them. It's a nice late Ming. It's got a bit of lacquer and gilt on it, which is typical of the late Ming period of a seated figure. It's a nice one, and it's small. It's very personal. It's about 5 inches tall. I like that a lot. And it's got a great surface. Nobody's messed with it, thank God. All right, and that'll be on the newsletter page. All right. And then the Kangxi vase, very nice looking. Actually, I saw a pair of these are over on the global auction pages as well. Very similar with the Buddhist flaming mandala, and there's a picture of the bottom of it. There it is. Nice looking little pot. And it's up to, this is on eBay, it's up to $229. It's got 5 days to go. This is the seller, Welcome All Friends, over in the UK, in the Netherlands rather. They have an auction up this week. We're going to have a lot of it in the newsletter page because there's some terrific things. And they don't do auctions that much. Normally they're fairly fixed price sellers, and then they occasionally do auctions. Also this Kendi, good dark blue Kendi in nice condition, a little bit of fritting around the top, but that'll be on the newsletter page. That's also Welcome All Friends, has that up. Wanli period. Good looking thing though, isn't it? And then this is over on the Katawiki side, this very neat vine pattern plate. We've seen them before. This is not an extremely rare pattern, but it is unusual. And the outer border on this is very nicely done. And this is, like I said, it's over on Katawiki, and it's got it's up to 55 euros and closes tomorrow. All right, so you might want to check that out. It is about 8 inches in diameter, but a good-looking plate, nice-looking piece. All righty, and that's it for the week. If you haven't subscribed to us yet here on YouTube, please do, and give us a thumbs up, make a comment. If you haven't used the Bidamount.com site yet, you can come over. You can sign up for the newsletter page. It's free. We'll notify you each week when we update the page, when we post the things that we found on eBay and Katawiki, and of course then the global pages, which we've updated I think 3 times this week. All right, and that's it. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back next week, and we're working on some other videos, and they'll come up. We're gonna do one on late Qing porcelain, like the one we did on Ming and early Qing, and we have a lot of photos we're assembling for those. So we're looking forward to sharing that. Okay, have a great weekend. Spring is here almost, and we'll see you all next week. Bye bye.